The last thing Jessica Miller remembered was the mirror-like glowing disc in the sky. 40 minutes later, when she woke up, her GPS showed a 35-minute gap. Welcome to Shelley's Mysterious Files. Today's story is about a missing time case that occurred in the Arizona desert and was proven by GPS data. Let's begin. Jessica, thank you for sharing this extraordinary experience with us. First, could you introduce yourself and tell us what you were doing in the Arizona desert that day?
Of course, Shelley. I'm Jessica Miller. I'm 33 now, but I was 25 at that time. I was a student studying biology at the University of Arizona, and I was very into outdoor sports. In May 2016, I was doing a solo bicycle tour near Sedona. It was a beautiful sunny day.
Why did you decide to go to the desert alone that day? Did you usually go on solo trips?
Yes, I often spent time alone in nature. I was particularly stressed that day. Final exams were approaching, and I needed to clear my head. I needed the silence and beauty of the Arizona desert. I had read a lot about Sedona's energy vortexes. The mystical atmosphere of that region affected me a lot. I loved cycling among those red rocks, as if I could get away from the world and return to myself.
What exact time and where were you that day? Can you describe the surroundings?
It was around 1 p.m. The sun was right overhead, and it was very hot. I was on a desert road about 15 kilometers from Sedona. Around me, there were only massive cacti, bushes, and those magnificent reddish rocks. Arizona's typical landscape? Very captivating. It was very quiet. Only the sound of my bicycle wheels on gravel stones and a light, warm breeze could be heard. It was a perfect day. I had found exactly the peace I needed. Until I encountered that strange sound.
What sound did you hear first? How did you realize this sound wasn't normal?
It was a very strange vibrating sound. At first, I thought it was an airplane sound from far away, but it was very different. I know normal airplane sounds very well. This was nothing like that. It was as if there was an electric vibration in the air. Not in my ear, but as if I felt it in my whole body. A pressure feeling formed in my chest, just like standing next to a very loud sound system. I immediately stopped my bicycle and looked around. Where was the sound coming from? I was looking for an airplane in the sky, but couldn't see anything.
What was your reaction when you heard this sound? Did you try to find the source of the sound?
Yes, I raised my head and looked at the sky. In Arizona, the sky is usually very clear, and it was the same that day. There were no clouds. But right above me, maybe 200 to 300 meters high, there was a metal disc shining like a mirror. At first, I couldn't believe my eyes.
Can you describe that metal disc in more detail? How did it look, and how big was it?
It was very big, maybe 30 to 40 meters in diameter. It was in a perfect circle shape, and its surface was shining like a mirror. It was reflecting sunlight, but not dazzling. It had a very soft brightness. The most surprising part was that it was completely motionless. How could it hang in the air when there wasn't even wind?
What was the first emotion you felt when you saw that object? Were you scared, or were you curious?
At first, I was shocked. Then great curiosity came. I wasn't scared because it didn't look threatening. It was just very beautiful. I immediately tried to take out my phone. I wanted to take a photo. But when I took out my phone, strange things started happening.
What kind of problems did you experience with your phone? Were your other electronic devices affected too?
The phone had completely frozen. I couldn't press any button. The digital odometer on my bicycle had also broken. It was only showing strange numbers. I had a GPS watch on my arm. It also started flashing crazily. It was as if there was a very strong magnetic field.
After your electronic devices malfunctioned, what did that disc do? Was there any change in its movements?
Yes, it slowly started descending, with very smooth movement without making any sound. When it came about 100 meters ahead of me, it stopped, hanging in the air there. It was so close that I could now see its details. There were small lights underneath.
Did you see those lights in more detail? How did they look?
Very beautiful colored light beams were descending from underneath. In blue, green, purple colors, these lights weren't reaching the ground, as if they were hanging in the air. Colored rings started forming in my eyes. It had a very hypnotic effect. I couldn't take my gaze away.
What else did you feel after seeing these colored light rings? Were there changes around you?
That's when something very strange happened. All sounds suddenly cut off. Wind sounds, insect sounds. I couldn't even hear my own breathing. It was as if I was watching a muted movie. Very frightening, but at the same time, mesmerizing.
What did you experience during this complete silence moment? Could you move?
I had difficulty moving my body, as if I was inside a very dense liquid. All my movements seemed very slow. I was trying to turn my head, but it was very difficult. Those light rings had mesmerized my eyes.
What is the last thing you remember after this situation?
The last thing I remember is those colored light rings getting bigger and bigger, as if they were pulling me inside. Then, my eyes started getting heavy. Very deep fatigue came. In my next memory, I had woken up in the same place, next to my bicycle.
How did you feel when you woke up? What was the first thing you noticed?
I was very confused, as if I had taken a short nap, but the sun's position had changed a lot. My watch wasn't working, but from the sun, I could tell a lot of time had passed. My head was aching slightly, and my body was very tired.
How did you realize how much time had passed? How did you explain this situation to yourself?
When I returned home, I looked at the clocks. I must have spent 3 hours in the desert, but I only remembered 10 to 15 minutes. This was very frightening. I tried to think, maybe I had heat stroke, but I had never experienced such a thing.
When you returned home, did you notice any changes in your body? Were there any physical marks?
Yes, I noticed while taking a shower. There were small circular reddish marks on both my arms, about 5 to 6 of them arranged very regularly. They didn't itch but were visibly apparent. I had never experienced such a thing.
What did you think about how these reddish marks might have formed? Did you go to a doctor?
At first I said, maybe sunburn. But I'm often in the desert. I use sunscreen. Also, their shapes were very regular. They couldn't be natural. I didn't go to a doctor because I didn't know what to say. I couldn't say UFO marked me.
What kind of changes did you experience in your life after this experience? Were there mental or physical effects?
The first week was very difficult. I couldn't sleep at night. I constantly felt like I was reliving that moment. Those colored light rings appeared in my dreams. The strangest thing was, I felt a desire to return to the desert, as if it was calling me.
What do you mean by desire to return to the desert? What kind of calling did you feel? Did this feeling bother you?
It was a very strange attraction feeling, as if I had unfinished business in that area. Especially at the same hours, at noon, I felt it very strongly. Sometimes, I uncontrollably wanted to take my car keys and head towards the desert. This scared me.
After this incident, did you research people who had similar experiences? Did you learn about UFO topics?
I didn't at first because I felt crazy. But about 6 months later, I started researching on the internet. There were many people in Arizona who had similar experiences. Especially the Sedona region was famous for UFO activities.
In 2018, you decided to report this experience to an Arizona UFO research group. Why did you make this decision 2 years later?
Because I was now convinced that this was real. During that time, I had read similar stories, watched videos. When I realized I wasn't alone anymore, I found courage. I thought maybe my experience could help others too.
How were you received when you first met with the UFO research group? Did they believe you?
They approached very seriously. I met with Dr. Richard Stevens from the Phoenix MUFON group. He didn't look skeptical at all because he had seen many similar cases in Arizona. He asked me for a detailed report and wanted to do technical analyses.
How did they discover the 35-minute gap in the GPS data? How did this finding affect you?
Dr. Stevens analyzed my GPS watch data. Normally, GPS continuously records location, but that day there was no record from 1:15 p.m. to 1:50 p.m., a complete 35-minute gap. This surprised me a lot because the time I remembered was much shorter.
What do you think might have happened during this 35-minute gap period? Have you tried hypnosis therapy?
Dr. Stevens suggested hypnosis, but I haven't done it yet. I'm afraid, what if I remember that I was really abducted? What if I experience scarier things? For now, it seems better for this gap to remain a mystery.
How long did the circular reddish marks on your arms last? Did you experience other physical effects?
The reddish marks lasted about 2 weeks, then completely disappeared. But after that experience, I became very sensitive to electromagnetic fields. I feel uncomfortable near microwave ovens, high voltage lines. It's as if something changed in my body.
How does this electromagnetic sensitivity show itself? How does it affect your daily life?
I get headaches near electrical devices. I feel nauseous in Wi-Fi dense places. The strangest thing is I get very tense during stormy weather. It's as if I feel the electric charge in the air in my body.
Have you returned to the Arizona desert after this experience? How have your feelings toward that area changed?
Yes, I went a few times, but never alone. I go with friends. The strange thing is, when I approach that area, I still feel an attraction, as if something is waiting for me.
How did your friends react to this story? Were there those who believed you?
I got mixed reactions. My close friends believed me because they know me, but some said heat stroke, some said stress. What hurt most was those who thought I was crazy. That's why I'm very selective now.
How did this experience change your views about UFOs and alien life?
It changed completely. Now I know for certain that we're not alone in space. This technology is much more advanced than ours. Maybe they're observing us, maybe researching us. Now, when I look at the sky, I don't just look for clouds and airplanes.
Why do you think you experienced such an encounter in the middle of the day? Most UFO cases happen at night.
This makes me think a lot too. Maybe they didn't want to hide, or maybe sunlight was necessary for their technology. The Arizona desert is very open, no one around. Maybe midday was the safest time for them.
Have you experienced other strange things since that day? Have there been moments when you thought you encountered them again?
There was no direct encounter, but I have strange dreams at night. Sometimes I see that metal disc in my dream. Sometimes I'm walking in the desert. The strangest dream is when they talk to me, but I can't remember what they said.
What emotions do you feel in these dreams? Are they frightening or peaceful?
Strangely peaceful. I'm not afraid of them in dreams, as if they were old friends. These feelings continue when I wake up. Maybe a connection was established during those lost 35 minutes.
What do you mean by a connection was established? What is your thought on this?
Maybe they marked me, maybe they're tracking me, or maybe during those 35 minutes they examined me and learned something. These reddish marks could be proof of this. But this doesn't scare me. It makes me curious.
Do you want to encounter them again in the future? How do you feel about this?
I both want to and am scared. I have too many questions. Why did they choose me? What happened during those 35 minutes? But at the same time, I'm scared. What if it's different this time? What if they do something dangerous?
Do you think the weather conditions in the desert that day had an effect on this experience?
I thought about this. That day was very clear and calm. There was no wind. Maybe these conditions provided the ideal environment for them to appear. Or maybe their electromagnetic fields worked more powerfully in this situation.
Have you considered that there might be a scientific explanation behind this experience? Have you developed alternative theories?
Of course, I thought about it. Maybe plasma phenomenon, maybe electromagnetic anomaly. But the gap in GPS data, electronic malfunctions, marks on my body, all of these can't be coincidence. The most logical explanation is that I really saw a UFO.
What kind of reactions do you get from people when sharing this story? How is it generally received?
Very different. Some show great interest. There are those who experience similar things. Some look for scientific explanation. Of course, there are deniers too, but I don't care anymore. What I experienced was real, and I'm sure of it now.
Finally, what advice would you give to people who think they experience similar encounters?
Don't be afraid. You're not alone. Take your experience seriously. Keep records. Contact groups like MUFON. Most importantly, don't think you're crazy. These experiences are real, and many people experience them.
Jessica, thank you very much for sharing this extraordinary experience with us. Your courage will guide other people.
Thank you, Shelley. Sharing this story wasn't easy, but people should know. The Arizona desert is still full of mysteries, and I experienced only a small part of it.
What do you think about this midday experience that Jessica Miller had in the Arizona desert? How can the 35-minute gap in GPS data be explained? Could she really have encountered aliens? Share your thoughts in your comments. See you in the next video.